And I'm joined by Dan Dolev, Senior Analyst and Payments and Business Services at Macquarie Group. And I'm happy to talk to you because you're one of the highest on the street for Square. Yes. So we'll get to that in a moment. But what is the big picture feeling? I know you're watching the consumer. You're keeping a keen eye on the economy. And that's how you're coming up with these price targets overall. What is your feeling right now of 2020?
Correct. So I think 2020 is going to be the year of payments. And the research that we've done specifically on the networks, on Visa and MasterCard, shows you that millennials, which are going to become the biggest consumer segment within a few years, they're going to be over $8 trillion of U.S. income spend in the next 5 years.
Right.
They're actually adopting the networks, and specifically they're adopting debit at an accelerated rate. So instead of people fearing the millennials, and this is the research that we've done on Visa and MasterCard, people feeling the millennials disrupting the networks, they're actually getting deeper entrenched in the network. So 2020 is going to be the beginning of this. You're going to get a huge growth in payments in 2020 and beyond. Part of it is the trend towards debit and the millennials adopting it.
So often people are telling me about these millennials using, Apple Pay and Venmo and all these other things. I know Visa made that Plaid acquisition, but, people say, what happens to the credit cards overall?
Right. And that's what people mostly misunderstand. Every time a millennial or anyone for that purpose goes and uses Venmo or Cash App, which we can talk about in a little bit, or even any other app or Apple Pay, it still goes through the rails. So the millennial behavior, which a lot of people are worried about, is actually nurturing the networks. It makes the networks proliferate and get more volumes instead of vice versa.
Right, so it's not like Visa or MasterCard are going anywhere. In fact, as the millennials spend, Visa and MasterCard are a part of it.
They're benefiting from it.
When I saw your notes, I was looking through some of your Macquarie notes, and it said for millennials buy Visa and for everything else MasterCard. I didn't quite understand. Explain that.
Well, so for millennials, so if you're betting on millennials, so to say, and you're thinking millennial behavior is going to drive a lot of volume growth down the road, then Visa is the better play. And the reason for that is because Visa has 2x the global volume of debit versus MasterCard. And they have a bigger exposure to debit overall. It's a bigger proportion of their overall volumes. So debit growth, which part is millennial, and also the other part is push payments. I can get into that. That's basically getting paid. That nurtures the gig economy. So to say an Uber driver gets paid at the end of the day straight to their debit card. That's a $10 trillion TAM just in the US, probably 2x of that globally. So that is better for Visa. They have a bigger practice of that. For MasterCard, we like MasterCard. A, it's more international. 2, it's got some more of a hedge. It's got a consulting practice. And 3, they have 1,000 basis point almost margin gap between Visa and MasterCard. If they get more efficient, you can close that. That gives you a lot more margin.
Okay, so Visa, MasterCard, Square.
Correct.
Of the 3, do you like all 3? Give us a little targets on each one, beginning with Visa, MasterCard, Square.
So Visa, we have a $250 price target. So Visa.
And it's at 205, so you have room to the upside.
We have room to the upside. That Visa and MasterCard are sort of a long-term holdings, long-term core holdings for anyone that's bullish on payment.
Okay, long-term core holdings.
Correct, so I like them both. Square is the more interesting one because Square, I think we have a $105 price target. You can get to that price target pretty quickly. The fundamentals are getting better every day. And let me explain that. One, on the seller side, we've seen an inflection in GPV growth in the third quarter. And that's actually a very important thing that people are not spending.
GPV,
gross payment volume. Correct. So the number of times that people are swiping their card times the value of the card. That has inflected positively. The more interesting part is the Cash App, which we've been writing a lot about.
Yes.
The Cash App has been growing at a 235% CAGR over the last 2 years. And the download rate and the proliferation of the Cash App, vis-a-vis, for example, Venmo, is getting bigger and bigger every month.
So it's very interesting because a lot of people, weren't really putting $100 price targets. They were looking at 70 or 75. And you've always been on the show with us all last year talking about the Cash App, talking about folks who were doing direct deposit right into that, right?
Correct. So the opportunity here is that more and more people are downloading the Cash App, but the bigger opportunity is the engagement on the Cash App continues to grow. So right now, for example, they're offering stock trading, they're offering Bitcoin trading, they're offering direct deposit, they're offering instant deposit for sellers. That's not the Cash App, that's for sellers. So all these things together will increase and nurture the growth or the revenue growth for Square over the next 12 months. That's why I think it's got the fastest route to that $100 benchmark than all three.
Is this sort of contingent upon a good economy, which we currently have?
Sure, everything is contingent upon, I mean, you can't avoid cyclicality. Everything is contingent upon a good economy, but what you get with payments is beyond the economy. You get that cash to card move, so you get a natural lift to payments that you don't get elsewhere.
And your 105 price target, which you lifted up from 100, I know you used to have it at 100, you move it up to 105. So that's pretty much a 12 to 18 month target? Is that what you're saying?
Our price targets are about a 12-month price.
What about the idea that that these types of payment facilities, they get a little squeeze because, for example, here in New York, cashless businesses, that's not allowed. Because what happens is a lot of folks don't have credit cards, or they don't have accounts, and they use cash, particularly the lower half, right, of earners. So does that wane on these types of names, or not really? Whoever's going to use it is going to use it, because that's a trend that we're seeing in some countries, cashless.
Right, it's a big trend, right? And if you think about who that benefits most, actually companies like Square, because what Square has done with the Cash App, it targets specifically, and that's, by the way, a great question. There's about 50 million underbanked and unbanked people in the U.S.
Right.
And the big part of the growth there for the Cash App is giving them access to the economy. So instead of cash, they can actually pay with the Square Cash App. They could load a debit card to that. They could use the Square debit card, which they offer on that thing. It gives them an opportunity to participate in the economy, and it actually replaced prepaid cards, which a lot of other companies have been offering. So that's been versus companies not allowing cash. That's a big trend. Companies not allowing not to have cash. That's something that's interesting. We have to look into.
And then you have my local bagel shop that says we don't take American Express. I guess they charge more in fees. All right. Anyways, great to see you, Dan Dolev, Senior Analyst of Payments and Business Services at Macquarie Group.